Our second scripture reading is going to be a little bit different this morning. Sandy's going to read the whole thing in English, and then you're going to hear it from Bobbie in Spanish, the last 2 verses of the scripture. You're going to hear it from Theo in French, and you're going to hear it from me in German.
Genesis 11:1-9. All people on the earth had one language and the same words. When they traveled east, they found a valley in the land of Shinar and settled there. They said to each other, "Come, let's make bricks and make them hard." They used bricks for stones and asphalt for mortar. They said, "Come, let's build for ourselves a city and a tower with its top in the sky. And let's make a name for ourselves so that we won't be dispersed over all the earth." Then the Lord came down to see the city and the tower that the humans built. And the Lord said, "There is now one people, and they all have one language. This is what they have begun to do, and now all that they plan to do will be possible for them. Come, let's go down and mix up their language there so that they won't understand each other's language." Then the Lord dispersed them from all over the earth and stopped building the city. Therefore, it is named Babel, because there the Lord mixed up the language of all of the earth, and from there the Lord dispersed them over all the earth.
Así los dispersó el Señor desde ahí sobre la faz de toda la tierra, y dejaron de edificar la ciudad. Por eso fue llamada Babel, porque ahí confundió el Señor la lengua de toda la tierra. Y de allí los dispersó el Señor sobre la faz de toda la tierra.
Et l'Éternel le dispersa loin de là sur la face de toute la terre. Et ils cesseront de bâtir la ville. C'est pourquoi on l'appela du nom de Babel. Car c'est là que l'Éternel confondit le langage de toute la terre. Et c'est de là que l'Éternel les dispersa sur la face de toute la terre.
Und Jehova zerstreute sie von dannen über die ganze Erde, und sie hörten auf, die Stadt zu bauen. Darum gab man ihr den Namen Babel, denn daselbst verwirrte Jehova die Sprache der ganzen Erde. Und von dannen zerstreute sie Jehova über die ganze Erde. In case you haven't been keeping track of it on your calendar, exactly 1 month ago, marked the 104th anniversary of the sinking of the Titanic. On April 10th, 1912, the Titanic and her 2,228 passengers and crew set sail from England to New York. And as the 1997 movie portrayed, can you believe that movie was made in 1997? There was much enthusiasm and rejoicing, as this was a landmark ship making an incredible journey with some very notable people on board. Everyone was hopeful and excited for this adventure across the Atlantic. And today, even young school children know about the Titanic. While they may not know all the details of the ship or the voyage, children at least know that it was a big ship that hit an iceberg and it sank. And just in case you really want to experience what it's like to walk inside the Titanic, there is a museum in Orlando that has recreated life-scale parts of the ship that you can actually walk through. Or, if you have a little bit of change in your sofa cushions, you can buy your very own private dive of the actual Titanic for a mere $60,000, excluding airfare. So the Titanic has fascinated the world for generations. And part of the fascination is because of its engineering achievements of the time. Some of the fascination is because of the sheer audacity to attempt such a voyage. And part of it is also because there were really famous society people on board who lost their lives. But the fascinating part that I want to talk about isn't so much the Titanic, it's the iceberg. Now we, as rational and educated adults, understand that water plus cold temperatures plus northern glaciers equals icebergs. It's not that the people in 1912 didn't understand that equation. It's not that icebergs or glaciers hadn't been discovered at that time. The men guiding and steering the ship knew that there were icebergs. It's just that clear icebergs are a little difficult to see in the black darkness of nighttime. And so I'll use that image as a contrast to the images of Pentecost, which we celebrate today. Pentecost, simply put, is the gift of the Holy Spirit, which God gives to us in images of tongues and fire and multiple languages. So to contrast the dark cold of an iceberg with the multilingual fire of the Holy Spirit, today marks the revelation of the third component of the Trinity. And that's not to say that the Holy Spirit wasn't there before humans realized it. It just means the revelation of the Spirit was granted to Jesus' followers at this certain point in time. But let's look at the Tower of Babel in Genesis. At the time this story takes place, all the people on earth spoke the same language. They were traveling together and found this adorable little area in the vicinity of Babylon called Shinar, and so they settled there. So wanting, like we humans do, wanting to commemorate their settling and claiming of land, and needing to show everyone how amazingly wonderful they were, they began to make bricks with the idea of building a city and a tower that stretched all the way to the heavens. So if you need something to help you picture this, imagine this as the biblical version of Neil Armstrong's planting of the American flag on the surface of the moon. And the whole reason behind them building this temple is so that they would be unified. How could anyone move away from this area when it had such a magnificent tower? And how could God ever be dissatisfied with such a unified and wonderful people? And what these people hadn't yet learned is that when asking a challenging question of God like that, you better be ready for the response. And God does indeed respond. So God looks at this tower and says, what they're doing. Now let's just go mix this all up. They'll all start speaking different languages and they won't be able to finish the tower because they won't understand each other. And this is what they need. And that's exactly what happened. They were no longer a unified people because they couldn't understand each other all of a sudden. And so they dispersed throughout the earth. Now, you can read this one way, where it makes God sound like a snotty teenager walking down the beach, kicking over sandcastles just for fun. But there's always a method in God's madness. God knew that these people were almost too unified. I kind of picture it like the Stepford wives. The people were a little too nice and too accommodating, and they were a little bit too dedicated to each other. Because really what they had done by building this tower was they built an idol to themselves and to their way of life. The tower wasn't about building a monument or a temple to God. It was a shrine to themselves. And we like to think of God as kind of like a mother hen who gathers us in and unifies us. But in this story, God is the one to confuse us and scatter us. And sometimes God does that. Look just at our church. We could be a modern-day illustration of this story. In our legacy congregations, we were happy, comfortable. Things were as we've always known them to be. It was simply understood that the flowers went here on Easter, and Christmas happened this way, and Sunday school always did this at that time, and it was good. And now we are the people that God has confused and scattered. Now you're cooking a church meal in a kitchen that's not yours, and you don't know where anything is. You look around a sanctuary that may be familiar to you, but you don't recognize the person sitting next to you in the pew. You've got to set up communion or change paraments, which these material things are called paraments. And the person who always used to do that isn't doing it anymore. And, well, do we use red or green or white or purple? I don't even know where the Christmas decorations are in this church. Did we put that stuff from Sayer over here somewhere? Who moved the trash can out from under the sink where it's been always for the last 50 years? God has scattered and confused us. Do you think the iceberg that hit the Titanic set out to do that day? Do you think that was the divine purpose of the iceberg that was predestined to kill all those people and do all that damage 140 years ago? No. It was an equal opportunity iceberg. The iceberg didn't know whether or not that ship was a modern marvel. The iceberg didn't know and probably didn't care that there were some high society people on that ship. And I'm pretty sure the whole purpose of an iceberg is not to kill ships and people in the nighttime. And when it comes to God, sometimes we need to be scattered and confused in icy water or freezing cold lifeboats in order to learn and grow. Even though that might be where we are right now, and I'd like to think of our situation as somewhat less bleak than those who are on the Titanic, Pentecost is the opposite of Babel. Babel was comfort and predictability, but it was also stagnation and self-glorification. Though God confused the language and scattered the people across the earth, they actually, believe it or not, remained united. Because they remained united in God by the Holy Spirit. I know some of you have been hating, absolutely hating, that we're singing the benediction response in Spanish. Think of it like this. When we sing in other languages, we're having a post-Babel experience. By singing in other languages, as I told the kids, we're acknowledging that we're united with our brothers and sisters in Christ who are scattered across the world, who speak all different languages, and who worship in all different styles. We sing in their language and they sing in ours because the language doesn't matter. When it comes to praising God, we all speak one language. And it's the language of the Holy Spirit that unites us across time and space. So when we build this new church on this site, let's not make it a Tower of Babel that shows the community just how great we are. Think of the building as simply a tool with which we minister. Let us instead show the community that different people can come together and be united in ministry for no other reason than because the community needs us. And that is the common language that we all speak. Remember, every iceberg is an equal opportunity iceberg. And we never know when we're going to hit the next one. But if we can be and stay united by the Holy Spirit, by our love for God, by our salvation in Christ, at least we'll know exactly where the lifeboats are and how to use them. Amen.